Hey guys, Tyler here. I've got something new for my boat that I'm really excited about and I want to share with you guys. I've been wanting one of these things for a long time, a while now. And if you guys follow me, you know I love fishing with my Panoptix. I've had that for several months now and it's become a big part of how I fish. Especially, I got on Lake Travis where the water's really clear. I can't tell you how many fish I've video gamed just watching them on that screen. Well, my Garmin, honestly, I haven't done a very good job of mounting it, if we're being honest here. Kind of show you what I've got set up here on the bow. Well, I've got it just rigged up on a flimsy little ram mount. And it's what I had in my garage. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to go with. And like I said, I had a ram mount laying around, so I rigged it up that way I could get to using it right away. And when I got this Garmin, it was like right before a tournament, so I was just in a hurry to get it rigged up. But pardon my language, but that ram mount's a piece of shit. I hate the thing. It wiggles around. I mean, even if I tighten it down as hard as I can, it still vibrates a ton. If I hit hard waves, it moves around, and I'm worried it's going to damage the thing. So I got to be really careful every time I move anywhere. If it's not glass calm out, I have to undo that ram mount and lay it back on my carpet. It's just a pain in the butt. So I wanted a way to mount it on the bow of my boat permanently because this thing ain't going anywhere. So Mealey Marine, you guys know I help them sell electronics. Well, Michael over there at Mealey Marine does fantastic CNC work, really, really high quality stuff. Well, check out what I've got. I've got one of Mealey Marine's mounts, and they make mounts for your console, but they make a really nice mount for the bow of your boat. And they can do it either a bridge style mount, which is kind of like what I have here that came with the boat. So basically it'll go over your trolling motor pedal, or in the case of what I'm doing is it's going to replace this right here, this bow panel here. Actually, it's going to bolt to this. But what that's going to allow me to do is be able to have these things securely mounted up here to where they're not going anywhere. Hit a big wave, no big deal. So I'm going to show you guys how I install this thing, kind of, give you some little tips on it, show you what this thing is, and just show you how it's different from the competitors out there. Because I'll show you in a bit, but this thing, you can move it around. It slides up and down, back and forth to allow you to position your graphs exactly how you want them. And I mean, I've been playing with this thing here. It is rock solid. I mean, it's heavy duty aluminum, very nice powder coated. This is a really, really nice mount here. So very excited to get this on my graph. So, stay tuned here and check out the finished product. And like I said, I'm going to show you some stuff about how I'm installing this. So the first step in getting this thing installed is just, taking apart what you've already got up here. So in my case, I'll show you guys here, the way Skeeter rigs this thing is you've got this bridge mount right here, and it's got the bracket here for the Humminbird. And I'll kind of show you another reason I'm really stoked about getting this thing. Love my Skeeter, but honestly, this bridge mount is a piece of shit. Look at this thing. I don't know if you guys can see this down here. Look at that. Snapped it a long time ago. The Skeeter was supposed to send me a new one. I don't know where it is. So anyways, getting this thing replaced and putting, a really good mount on here. So right now I'm just using a 3/8 inch wrench here, using a little star bit, and we're taking this apart. And what we're going to do is use these existing mounts that come with your fish finders. So whether you got Humminbirds, Lowrances, Garmin, whatever, use this thing right here. We're going to save that. And that is what's going to get mounted right here. On the Mealey Marine mount, we're going to bolt that there. So in my case, I'm dual stacking them since I've got two graphs on here. So stay tuned as I get this all squared away and taken apart and move on to the next step. Okay, quick little update. So what I've done here is I've got my bracket right here mounted for my Humminbird. So you can see all I've done, just match that up. Already comes with the hardware, screw that in. But here, since I have a Garmin, there's an extra step you have to do. Now, for whatever reason, Garmin mounts theirs really wide compared to all the other manufacturers. I'm not sure why they do this, but Mealey Marine makes it really simple. When you get this in the mail, it's going to come with these little templates here, and they are correctly measured out in order to line up with the bracket. So you'll see those holes line up perfectly. So when you put it on here, you're going to line this thing up, and then in my case, I'm going with these smaller, the inner holes, because I don't want them to be too close to these holes that are already drilled in there just for the integrity of this bracket. So what I've done is I've taped it to here, and I've spent a lot of time, the old saying, measure twice, cut once. Measured a bunch of times, making certain that I have this thing exactly perfect and centered on my bracket here. Got it taped down with masking tape. And now the hardware that comes with here is 1/4 inch. So you want to go with a drill bit just one size larger than that. So for my set here, I've got 5/16. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill out each of these 4 holes in order to be able to mount this Garmin bracket here on the Mealey Marine mount so that I can dual stack these. All right, so after lining up very carefully, getting out my drill, and you can see you don't need a drill press. You do not need any fancy tools. I've just got your regular, DIY Home Depot kind of stuff here. And came out really nice. As you can see, no issues there. Turned out perfectly. Just the main thing that I recommend is just take your time with it. Measure a bunch of times. When you line your drill bit up with it, make sure it's centered in that template that you get. And don't be afraid to drill in these things. Not to mention, if you're a tiny bit off, it's going to get covered with the washer anyway. So as far as drilling out the bracket, super easy. I think that took me like 5 minutes. So on to the next step. All right, check it out. So I've got my graph gimbals mounted on there. Show you guys here. Now you can see I've got it set up. Obviously not mounted on the bow, but I'm just kind of testing it, figuring out how I want it, if I want one above the other. I may do the Garmin up top, haven't decided yet. But you can see how sleek this thing is. They're perfectly flat. They look really good together. You've got just a little bit of spacing, maximizes the space up front, but not so close that any vibrations will make them hit together. This thing is rock solid, really well made. Okay, let me show you guys what I'm doing next here. So I have opted to mount this thing by bolting it to my faceplate here. So Mealey Marine can provide you with one of these. I opted to just, stick it right on. This thing is getting covered anyway, so who cares? But what I'm doing here is I've got this thing all taped up, and I've been up here, I've been using a level, got my tape measure, and I am just making certain that this thing is perfectly square where I want it. So I want it a little bit higher up on the plate here, that way I have a little more clearance on my trolling motor pedal. And then this is going to get bolted there. So I've got this all taped up, got it square right where I want it, and then I'm going to drill holes right here in order to put bolts through it and secure it to the bow of the boat. All right, y'all, I got a new helper. Say hi, Rachel.
Hi.
Okay, so what we've got is I finally got this thing installed here. On the back, you can see how I've got this bolted in. Little tip, it comes with lock washers. This thing's really well thought out, but thread locker never hurts, especially since this is supporting, all the weight of your graph. But I mean, these are big, heavy duty 1/4 inch stainless steel bolts. But anyways, measured it, 20 times, got this thing lined up perfectly. So this thing's rock solid. So now this bow panel is going to go back on the boat. One tip for you guys running skeeters, this is the screw they used to hold the bow panel in. I'm going to upgrade these, go a little bit bigger and much longer, just so that it grips better into the fiberglass. But the fiberglass up here is pretty thick. It's probably at least a 1/2 inch. So it's plenty thick enough to support the weight of this thing. So we're almost done here. So, all right, finally got this thing installed, all done with this. I just want to show you guys some of the cool features and what sets this apart from some of the other mounts out there. You pay quite a bit of money for these things, and they're really well made. Mealey Marine has really thought this thing through, especially, just kind of covering all different types of boats. Each boat is a little bit different in how narrow the bow is or how wide it is, the angle of the trolling motor, how wide the bow panel is. There's a lot of differences between, Rangers and Skeeters and Bass Cats and, Vexus, all that stuff. So this is perfect no matter what you've got. Let me show you why. So come take a look right here. If you look up in here, let me use this light. You see we've got this little arm right here. Well, check this out. I can undo this thing here, and now I can slide my graphs back and forth and side to side. So if I want to get them way over here, because let's say I got the trolling motor, I'm going to raise it up kind of high. It's perfect for that. If I want to keep these things centered, just so it's a little more symmetrical and it's more comfortable to just look down at, all I got to do is loosen this thing up, get them to the position I want, rotate it, and it's real easy. And once you lock that thing in, these are going nowhere. I mean, you can see my boat's jiggling. These things aren't moving. If you guys are in the market for a bow mount, I highly recommend checking out Mealey Marine. These things are really well thought out. If you've got a second graph up on your bow, if you got a new Panoptix unit, which also, if you're interested in a combo, you know, the transducer, the head unit itself, we sell those. I can get you a great deal on one. Hit me up. But check out Mealey Marine's mount. It's very well made. This thing is rock solid. Comes with good stainless steel hardware, CNC milled, you know, aluminum. Thing's powder coated. This thing is tough and it's not going anywhere. And you know, your bow graphs, they take the biggest beating out of everything because your bow is what's hitting those waves. So if you're in the market for a bow graph, check them out. It's mealeymarine.com. I promise you won't be disappointed.